Welcome to Thin Fat Line, the podcast that explores the line between loving yourself just as you are and the unhealthy and toxic things we do and say, sometimes in the name of health. Hosted by Whitney Andrews, a girl who has been coming to terms with her own journey of health and self-love for as long as she can remember. Warning, the following conversations may be triggering and may discuss sensitive topics. Please move forward as you feel comfortable. The goal of this podcast is to create a conversation and community of support and understanding. Welcome to Thin Fat Line.
Hello, everybody. It is really good to be back in the studio, and I hope this podcast finds you having the best day ever. If not, I'm sending you all the peace, hugs, and good energy I have to pour out for you. So today changed, 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago. I'm sitting across the table from my husband.
Hello.
His voice was designed for this.
I have a good face for radio too.
He's so cute. He's even cuter when he's talking through this microphone. It's like an amplified, sexy voice. So the end of 2021 found me talking to all the listeners about having VSG surgery, and I had all intentions of coming back here today and answering the boatload of questions that I've had and I've gotten and giving you an update, but I decided not to. I will, but not today. As I've stated before, Thin Fat Line is a podcast that explores the line between the things we do in the name of health that serve us and work against us. This can be physical health, mental health, spiritual health, career health, or anything in between. And something happened yesterday with our daughter that reminded me of how important it is to focus on the holistic health. And I needed a reminder after that surgery. But in the interest of being 100% transparent, here's the short and sweet. One, I have had zero buyer's remorse. Buyer's remorse for the surgery is pretty common among it. I was warned of it. The last 2 weeks have been interesting, but they have been very assuring that I did the best possible thing for my health. I don't know if you have buyer's remorse for me or if this has been if you have any insight into the last 2 weeks.
No, your recovery went really pretty well. And you were within a week and a half or so, pretty much back to normal.
And you've gotten a lot of leftovers.
I have gotten a lot.
I'm eating a lot less.
Yeah.
The best millennial toast ever.
It's good millennial toast, yeah.
I've had at least 3 times that I've been reminded in the last 2 weeks that I use food to fill random voids, and definitely how I chase some dopamine. That's probably been the most interesting part, and I intend on chatting about chasing dopamine soon and telling the story of actually driving to the airport to pick you up. And I told you that story of passing all the fast food restaurants and thinking I don't want to go get anything, but I felt like I should. It was
right. It was also late at night, and
I was tired.
Yeah.
You know very well. I get really tired, and I'm first thing I do, I'm oh, let's eat to stay awake. I'm sleeping well, healing well, feeling well, and you get to be here when I give you a shout out.
Oh, that's clever.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're sitting amongst a star. This comes to a point because I've become kind of bougie with my cooking. It's really fun to cook tiny things, and it makes it fun. It's been the most fun in the kitchen. This is what I said. It's been the most fun in the kitchen since I won the family gumbo cook-off in 2017. And I put shout out to my husband for winning the 2021 Don't Call It a Comeback gumbo cook-off. Do you want to give any secrets to your gumbo since you're the winner? You're getting way more recognition than I ever got for winning.
That's true. I didn't have a podcast whenever you beat me the first time or two.
2 times.
2 times.
Handedly.
Yeah. And then that other person's tomato gumbo won. And that's illegitimate results. Yeah, real lard in the roux is how you make good gumbo.
Not only was there gumbo, there was okra.
Oh, yeah, there was okra and tomato. That's not really gumbo. Come on.
Let's also say that this is when you were using jarred roux.
Not that
somebody else.
I made my own roux that year.
That year?
Yeah.
Okay. But this year you won. Any secrets? Anything you can share for
people? I just told you the secret. Lard in the roux. That's the secret right there.
Lard and cooking it outside with essentially a boat oar is what you used.
I made that for cooking, so it's a cooking paddle. And good sausage from Days. Yeah.
Shout out to Days. For those that don't know, Days is a smokehouse. North 16. It's between kind of if you were to take the interstate north on Highway 16 all the way till it meets, 55?
No, Days is in Watson. It's just...
Right, but if people aren't from here and they want to go to Days because it has the best sausage.
Just go north on 16 until you get to Days.
Till you get to Days.
Just past Watson.
And don't believe the billboard that says there's good catfish 30 minutes away. It's like an hour away. We chased that. We chased 16 for a while. Only for, do you remember the old lady that was like harassing Vivian, and Vivian was like closing her eyes, like, don't look at me, and she just refused?
Yeah.
Then she came to the table, didn't she?
That was weird, yeah.
Yeah, that was odd. Our child was only like, 2? Maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
So anyways, that's the short of it. I'm doing really well. I'm looking forward to incorporating more vigorous workouts this week, and all around working hard, raising kids, and still searching for lost socks and Tupperware lids. A section of my life has changed drastically, but the world keeps turning. So today, though, I want to talk to you about a little something different. I felt like the new year was the best possible time for me to dive in. We are chatting vision boards, my cynicism, and how, I guess, our 6-year-old reminded me of...
You guess ours.
I guess. I don't know. It still could be the milkman's. Somebody made better gumbo than you. That's only funny because she is legit like Ben Jr.
It's true.
She may have completely destroyed me from the inside out. But she is your junior. So before we dive in, I really want to ask, are you following the podcast on social? I'm pretty sure my husband isn't. On Facebook and Instagram, it's at ThinFatLine. He's like, no, I'm not.
I don't do social.
And go ahead and give me a follow at Whit Andress on the gram or at Whit Talk Andress on TikTok. It would mean the world to me if you would hit subscribe wherever you're getting this podcast and leave a review. I set a purpose for ThinFatLine in 2022. I want to bring 20,000 people here. So listening, so share. I'm getting in the hang of this, and I cringe just a little bit less every time I hear my voice on this recording. I'll probably cringe more because it'll be compared to yours. That does really well in recordings. You should do voiceovers.
I should.
But nonetheless, so. And we have some stuff coming up. So coming up, we got Jada Bruce from Movement Fitness, Hillary Goodman from Life Body Balance, and the vagina hero herself, Lauren Luke, a physical therapist who specializes on the pelvic floor. I should have warned you that was coming up.
Yeah.
Point is, you want to subscribe. There's a lot of goodness coming up. So now let's get on with the show. So yesterday I went to the office to get some work done, and I decided to take part in the Mompreneur Nation Vision Board Workshop. I was going to leave my child with you, our child, and she wanted to come with me to the office. Me taking part in this vision board workshop was rather interesting, given that I don't really believe in the whole vision board thing. I'm pretty sure you don't either.
No.
Vision board idea and the way it's presented mainstream. And before I get into the meat of what I really think this has to do with ThinFatLine, let's really talk about that. So I've really seen vision boards for many years as woo-woo. Like, it's, even though I feel like I like the woo-woo side of life. I mean, how have you seen them?
What does woo-woo mean, Whitney?
Woo-woo is like kind of like wishful. Like, it's the same thing as like a cardinal showing up and it's somebody dead. We were talking about it this morning.
Okay.
That's how I see vision boards. How have you seen vision boards, or do you see vision boards?
I don't see them. It's not something we do at work.
So tell people what you do so they really kind of understand exactly how analytical and cynical you are.
I'm a pilot.
And you just
fly airplanes around.
That's it.
Pretty much, yeah.
No real anything else to it. You don't have to talk to people.
We talk to people.
And it's like this, really short.
Yeah, pretty much.
You don't conversate with people.
I try to avoid it. That's how you get in trouble talking to people at work.
Can I ask you the really annoying question that everybody asks you?
No.
Okay. Have you ever flown anybody famous? Just kidding. You don't have to answer that. I know the answer. Fly for free? You must be living the good life.
Yes.
Living the life.
I fly like once down to the island or something, and then we're on vacation for a week, and then I fly home.
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes, yeah.
What is
5-star resorts the whole time.
What is the pilot life meme? Is it just pilot life? You showed it to me and you're like, this is
living the dream.
Living the dream. If you go to YouTube and search, I think it's like living the dream pilot life. And it's how people see
It'll be a little Lego dude.
It'll be a Lego dude as a pilot. And don't they have another one? And it's like the wife who's like, everything's going to hell in a handbasket. And then the husband comes home and it's like golden.
Things only go bad whenever we're gone.
Oh my gosh, is that not the truth? Every time if Viv has to stay home from school, it's always when you're gone.
Yeah.
It's never when you're home.
Very rarely. Things don't break. Everything goes wrong whenever you're gone.
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
But I mean, you fly for free.
I do, yeah.
And like they feed you delicious food all the time.
All the time. The best food you've ever had.
Absolutely.
The sarcasm doesn't come across on voice very well. That's not how it is at all.
But it is.
It's hard work. And we're gone a lot, and it's cold.
And Ben likes it because he can lock himself in a cockpit and talk to as few people as possible.
Pretty much.
A slam click, door click.
Slam clicker.
He's a slam clicker. He gets to the hotel, closes the door, and is done with humans for the day. So, as you can tell, that's the reason I have the podcast and not you, is I'm more of the talker of the two of us.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So
you're much more vocal.
He doesn't do vision boards is the moral of the story, getting back to it. But I've always seen it as kind of wishful thinking. So
magical thinking.
Magical thing. Is that what it was? So that's my next thing is I remember with the oldest, there was a whole like introducing magical thinking to her. Yeah. And there was like a stick. Wasn't there like... They're like, this is a magical stick if you put it in your hand. Or was that like, did I totally make that up?
I think you made that up.
Okay, so human memory is totally reliable, y'all.
Or maybe I've forgotten all about it. It's kind of hard to tell.
Either one is completely possible. There's no telling. But that was a long time ago. Because
yeah, it's been a couple of years.
And I think it's a very childlike thing to have that magical thinking. But our oldest is very magical thinker. If you wish it, it shall be.
Yeah.
She's grown out of that.
Kind of.
Since then. She's awesome. But she's
Absolutely.
kind of she's a wishful thinker. It'll serve her well in places that us not having that woo-woo wishful thinking does not. We could probably stand to have a little more wishful thinking is what I'm saying. Mm. Maybe not Ben. But the point was probably lost on the preteen of her, but never on me. I saw vision boards as wishful thinking. You see them as wishful thinking. People plaster pictures up, but never really work to achieve those ideas is what I really saw. I fully recognize this is not the intention. The idea is that if you see something in front of you as a tangible thing, you'll do things you need to do to get there. When you face setbacks, as you inevitably will, it reminds you of what you're working for. I remember my boss, Michael, in Lafayette had I want to say it was a jet. He was wishing for you to be flying him around. And I never really asked him what it was, but I just really imagined that was his vision board. So, Michael, I'm really sorry if that's not what it was. And I can fully recognize how seeing it over and over creates like a purpose to work towards.
I suspect, though, most people that use vision boards just think, oh, I'll put it on this board and it'll just kind of show up.
It'll happen.
Yeah, magically.
I mean, fair enough. If it happens for you, more power to you. But so the point I'm getting to, we've totally digressed. I'm fully regretting asking you to be here.
Figured you were.
No, not yet. I'm waiting for you to say something that I'm like, edit that out, please.
Talking as little as possible for that very reason.
So the point I'm getting to is here's the thing. So yesterday, a week. So it'd be a week because if this gets released, a week and a day. I participated in this. The Mompreneur Nation who put this on was founded here in Baton Rouge by Megan Kelly. She hosted a virtual vision board workshop because COVID. And that was me hashtagging.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted you to know what I was doing. So business owners joined each other on Zoom, spoke to their goals, their health, their dreams. That alone was cathartic because I think it is important to kind of talk about what you want in life and everything like that with people that you trust. Maybe not so much for you because you're just kind of like, why would I talk about it? I just go do it.
Yeah, I do that.
But we talk about it, about our goals, or maybe we talk about mine and you're just like, how do I live the dream to make this happen for her? So this is not the time to have me find out that those are not your dreams. You just need to like fake it. But it got me thinking about the real brilliance of doing the vision board. And it's not actually having the vision board, but actually going through the process of making it that I never really thought about. Because I was always like, why would I go through the process? Because I don't believe in the actual thing itself. But the process itself is planning and stuff like that. And we probably practice it in our day-to-day life. I mean, you're doing it right now. You have a goal to there's Top Gun. And for those of you that don't know, how would you describe it's a model airplane competition.
Sure.
Well, how would you describe it? Go for it.
Yeah.
And then the ultimate goal is to go to Worlds.
Right.
So you're working towards it. You have goals. You do this. And I think you've talked through it with me about the time commitment of it all.
Right.
Spoiler alert, it's a lot of time.
Would a clock go on my vision board?
No, but you make schedules and you do this and you plan and stuff. And I think, especially for really visual people, which is not what you are, it's in your head and it's done. Right. You hold it there. For visual people, I can see the process itself was really valuable, I guess is my point.
Okay.
And so that was really cool. And it was cool to make it with people that were small business owners, people kind of in the same shoes as me. And my kid came along. Our kid came along. I keep saying mine, but she's yours too. It challenged me to sit in gratitude for what I had, which is you. Very grateful for you.
So sweet.
You're welcome.
Your vision board did that?
You're the red beans to my rice.
It's true.
Happy Monday.
Oh, it's red beans and rice day.
It's red beans and rice day. And then setting an intention for what I wanted for my life. And it's humble for me to list those, like what people closest to me need. So we've talked about that sometimes too, about we're better partners today than we were. We were talking about it because I was in the hospital. And the last time I was in the hospital was when I gave birth to our child.
Right.
And Ben helped out in all the ways that Ben knows how to help out. He left the hospital to go do the laundry, cut the grass, all these things. And I was so tired. And her child was not happy in that hospital.
No.
And I could barely move my bottom half because birth. And I was like, and then he would get to the hospital and he would sleep better than me or the child was. And it was, I think that's a fairly normal story. But this time you came and,
you were the one sleeping.
I could not keep my eyes open at all. I had like intentions. Remember, I was like, I'm going to record a tiny mic session, like a podcast.
Yep. You're like, oh, my computer, I'm going to do some work.
I was going to do some work. I was going to run year-end reports. I was going to do all this stuff. No, I could not keep my eyes open. That anesthesia was good to me. Really good. But yeah, so it really kind of challenged me to like think about what do I need to do to set intentions to what do you need? Like putting things back in their place in the house and stuff like that. So it was good. But it's always nice to mastermind and kind of what I call, I think commonly known as mastermind. I call it fish bowling. Like you throw all the ideas in a bucket and you start pulling them out and discussing them. But I'm realizing that's not a common term that other people use.
Never heard that before.
It's my Louisiana Tech School of Architecture days. That's what they called it. But yeah, so 6-year-old came with me. And before I really get into the beauty of this day and what it taught me, I need to truly introduce you to our daughter, Birdie. So we wrote this and I asked you opinions on this yesterday. And I was like, what's one word that you would use to describe her? And you were like, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't have one.
So I said a force, but I was hesitant to use that word because it seems a force can be a euphemism for really difficult. And she's not a difficult child.
No, not at all.
No. Like I'm going to say like 2% of the time the child's difficult.
Yeah.
And but she's not difficult. She's a force in the sense that she knows exactly what she wants from this world at 6. She's purposeful in her actions and has a clear hypothesis of what the end results will be for each thing. And her demeanor is a really cool dichotomy of calm reflectiveness and then effervescence. Because I think that I'm the effervescent one that she gets it from, not you.
Definitely not the calm reflective one.
Definitely not. But you just don't get in her way. Like, you simply just kind of like make way and pay attention. And so, yeah, so knowing her and knowing that personality, we have to come back to the vision board workshop. So she sat down on the ground and she tuned into the Zoom. And I don't just mean like tuned in and it was there and she was wishing Bluey was on. I mean, like, she tuned in and she had her blank poster and she was like flipping through magazines and going through everything, and she was cutting out images. So she cut out a wolf. I still don't know what the wolf means. I'm going to ask her. An alligator, but not just an alligator. It was like a dude catching an alligator. And she said it reminded her of catching crabs with chicken poop. I don't think she realized it was like chicken, like the livers and stuff that we went to catch.
Those are
crab.
cow livers.
Those are cow livers?
Yeah.
Okay. But she's like, yeah, they're catching them like with the chicken poop. And I was like, and it took me a while to really realize like what she was referring back to. And I guess she was really young when we went crabbing.
Yeah.
So, so Anthony Chapel, which if you don't know is the chapel in Hot Springs, and it's a lot of glass and it has like the thin wood pieces and really kind of like delicately made. It's not a delicate chapel. It just looks very, you recognize it. You've seen it. Winnie the Pooh, because it had bees on it, and she really likes honey and bees.
So does Pooh.
Absolutely. And ironically, it all turns to that in the end. I didn't know that I was going to be the one to drop the poop joke.
I'm impressed.
So I showed her how, and she went to town. Then she asked me to cut out a heart. Because she couldn't get it. She was trying to cut it like all like this. And I was like, no, you fold the paper in half and then you can get the two sides even. So I showed her how. And this was like the sweetest part. She did 5 hearts, decreasing in size.
So did you cut all those out?
No, I cut one. I cut the biggest one. And then she went down the line. And they all fit together, decreasing in size. And I'll post a picture of her board on my Instagram if it's not already there. And it had our initials in it. So it had like VA, it had AA, it had, you know, and then at the bottom it said, love Andresses. And it was like super sweet because she said that she really liked her family. So that's good. She likes us still. I mean, she's 6, so she hasn't had time to not like us yet. And then she built a rocket ship out of construction paper and leaves. She had a lot of leaves. And then she had 2 additional hearts. One green one on the left side, if you're looking at it, with a frog on it and a leaf. Because she put the leaf on there because she didn't want the frog to be lonely on the heart without a home. So, which, if that doesn't tell you all about who our daughter is, I don't know what will. And then she had another white heart with words written on it. And this is the heart that I really want to like talk about and like how it all comes down. So I've really meandered my way here.
Yeah,
this is definitely a Mississippi River podcast. So the women on this call and I were chatting about being a generational stopgap. And so it was pointed out by you last night that some people may not know what a generational stopgap is.
Right, like me, until you started bringing it up.
So how would you define a generational stopgap? Now that you get to listen to me talk about this stuff all the time. What is a generational stopgap?
Someone who, in the line of people, changes behavior and prevents things from being done like they were in the past.
Right. It's just like, if you do things how they were always done, you will always be where you are now, is the idea. And so the best visual representation for those that are visual is like if you have a line of matches and you pull one down, the fire stops there. And so that's a generational stopgap. And so we were talking about it in reference to our health and how, you know, our parents, us, my best guess is you, as in the people that are listening to this, grew up in the non-fat, low-fat magazines telling us what we needed to fit in, what was beautiful, insane diets, constantly changing big reports. So I was kind of thinking about this last night about all the things I've heard in the big reports that have come out about things that are bad. So like fat was bad, as in the fat like that you eat like in avocados and olive oil.
Ham was bad for you.
Ham was bad for you.
Butter.
Eggs are
Butter was bad.
Bread, butter. Then we got margarine.
Ew.
That doesn't even melt right. Like, how are you going to brown margarine? You can't. There were, like, it was bad. Don't ever eat sugar, like, ever. And then it was like, oh, wait, eggs are fine. And then they were not again. And then they were like, don't ever eat bacon again. Which may be what you're talking about, ham.
Well, yeah, ham, bacon, all that stuff.
And then the list goes on. And then there were like cabbage soup diets, Atkins diet. I mean, you can't swing a stick without hitting a fad diet, you know? But the list goes on. So we were told we were too fat, too skinny. And we have seen big asses be ridiculed. And then we have seen them all while simultaneously jamming at every, like, probably, I guess that came out when we were at junior high. Maybe earlier. To Sir Mix-a-Lot. That's Ben's anthem, if nothing else. That and Fat Bottom Girls, some Queen. For a long time, that was my ringtone.
Yeah, I did cut that out. That was unprofessional.
As we're announcing it. I got really tickled the other day when Arj was like, oh, look, it's Biscuit's song. And it wasn't at all, but she thought it was Fat Bottom Girls. And I'm like, oh, lovely. Lovely. Like, she's going to go off and it's going to be like, oh, yeah, my stepmom is blah, 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 blah. Her theme song is Fat Bottom Girls by Queen. And I'm going to be like, thanks, Ben.
You're the one who set that to my ringtone.
I taught you how to do it. You wanted it.
Is that how it went?
Yes.
Okay. So a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. Getting old. It's almost time to move on to the next one. But so then it was okay to have hips and a butt. Like now we're in a time when like butts are cool and hips are cool. And you've talked about this before. Like I wonder how long till.
Right. Because in the 90s, it was being kind of skinny. And then big boobs have always been a thing. But at some point, having a more bottom heavy became desirable.
Yeah.
Maybe Beyonce and unfortunately the Kardashians made that more of a thing.
So what is it that Maul always says? Like, I'm no ironing board. Is that what she says?
Maybe.
I don't know. It was like straight. Like you didn't have any shape there for a while.
Right. That was a thing for a while.
Yeah. And so, but yeah. And so when I went to college, I was pretty straight. Like I didn't have a whole lot of curve. And I went to college and I gained more than the freshman 15. And I remember a friend came to me and was like, people are talking about you gaining weight this year. And I just tell them what founder hips as any woman should. And I genuinely think he meant it as a compliment. Like, it's really great that you're becoming I don't know. It was weird. Like now that I think about it, it's like, are you commenting on like,
you're filling out quite nicely, Whitney.
Quite nicely. But all I heard was people are talking about you gaining weight. And yeah, that was all I heard. And that's the point. It's all I heard because it's all my mom heard when she was growing up. It's all she talked about. I'm sure it came from her mom. I mean, it's a generational thing. We were taught that's what you always prevented gaining weight. And I know this happened in your family too, because we've talked about it as well. Maybe not in that same regard, but like you just stayed trim and figured it out. Unless you were your uncle. Ma feeds people to death, so she doesn't care.
No.
But I think it's a generational thing. So we were all talking about this, and there was our child there, and our kids constantly hearing us how we are on a diet, or we talk about ourselves or talk about other people. And we always talk about how kids are sponges, but I don't think it really sets in until you see them absorb something or do something or say something that you did before. And so we were all talking about how like our goals in life and kind of as a mom was to make sure that they heard us talking good things. They heard us talking about, they didn't see us constantly on a diet, chasing numbers, all that stuff is what I call it. And that our singular measure of health would not be whatever number was there and our success as humans. And so we're talking about it, and Viv is just sitting there like watching, and she's cutting, and then she'd look up and she's cutting. And so as we're talking about this, she's cutting her white heart, and she gets done with her vision board, and like we're well into this and all this stuff, and she shows me her vision board. And so she cut this heart out at the top of her vision board, and it was at the top right, and it said, "Do it anyway, even though you are scared," except it was spelled in very 6-year-old. So it took me a hot second to figure out, because it was like DOIT, and then anyway was like INEY, like how you say the E at the end of my name. And then even, and then though was just TH. I don't know how to turn this on silent, y'all. So I'm really sorry if you're hearing this. Though was THOE, obviously, because that's how she was taught phonetically. And then my favorite was scared because it was SKARD, like scarred. But it was awesome.
But that's an S sound.
So scared.
I don't know.
I don't know. But it was spelled in the 6-year-old way, and it was awesome. And so alone, this is powerful coming from a 6-year-old, but not surprising from her. But every time, I think what made it so cool and kind of so I remembered kind of how important it is to kind of be the generational stopgap is that every single time someone would speak or show their board, she would move from where she was and she would get like as close to the screen as possible. And she would like really look and pay attention and like listen. And then she would go back to like cutting and gluing intently with her purple glitter glue. Like she insisted that everything be glued on her board with purple glitter glue. I offered her tape.
What else would you use?
Fact. These are all facts. So several times Megan, who I mentioned above, the founder of Mompreneur Nation, spoke of how she reminds herself to like do it anyways. She told, and this was in relation to businesses, because being a small business owner can be really scary and you have to put yourself out there. But oftentimes we think like, what if everybody hates it and all this stuff? And it's just, people are going to hate it. But you do it anyway. You do it scared. She talked about going live, and one by one, each of the ladies on this call spoke of how their business changed during COVID and how they had to do things that were completely that were just scary. They were completely different than how they had done their business before, and they just had to do it anyways. And so I'm not sure if I can like adequately speak to kind of when I realized what she had written on that heart, kind of how cool it was, because you don't think of a 6-year-old like listening that intently, especially just right there. And I thought it was like a really great lesson on like where the vision board and the aspect of that isn't so woo-woo after all. And it's the process of making it. And I think that was really good. She obviously got really good things from that call. And there were some really good influences, which is really the goal of everybody, is like, how do we create a village that feeds them and doesn't tear them down, or just, tear them down or bring them down. We don't want them hanging out at the video arcade.
What's wrong with the video arcade? Did
you never see that Saturday Night Live skit with like the Spartan cheerleaders, and they had like the new one, and he went and he was like really like hyped up. It was a very Jesse Spano moment of like, I'm so excited. And he's like, I was hanging out with some kids at the video arcade. You never saw that?
Apparently not.
We're gonna have to YouTube it. But so I'm not sure if I can adequately speak to like what the lesson in that was for me, but I was definitely humbled. Here was my child. So I'm sitting there being cynical, like, like, and here's my child sitting there envisioning her life and the things she loved. She was sitting in gratitude for her family, which was like the sweetest. So we're doing something right. So high five. And, I mean, I really love that she intentionally gave the frog a home on his heart. I thought that.
Why didn't the alligator get a home?
Well, he was being captured to eat. Totally different story. FYI, Louisiana. She's still a Louisiana child. But she listened and set herself up to be her own motivation, all while I'm putting in like half effort because it's all woo-woo. Thank you. Needless to say, I sat back and really thought, what would 2022 on purpose look like? And I started gluing and cutting and gluing. It would go in the opposite order. And kind of showing up, if not for myself, then for her. And it kind of started, like I said, it was like, what would 2022 on purpose look like? And I think that's a question that everybody should ask, because we've done a really good job of being like, 2020 sucked, 2021 sucked. And last night, we've had the death of Betty White, the death of Bob Saget.
Saget was in 22.
Yeah, but Betty White, they all blame on 2022. She's like, I've seen people say, oh, she knew it was going to be so bad, so she was like, peace out. And I just think it is such if you look at kind of every bad event as like a reflection of the year, especially in January, it's like, well, now it really is going to suck for you because that's where you set yourself up to be. But it's like, but if you live it on purpose and you just say like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I recognize that good things are going to happen and bad things are going to happen, but like I can create this intentionally and purposefully, I think is really how you should look at things. And I get really annoyed when people are like, I'm going to blame the year for being bad. And it's like, no, bad things happen every year.
Yeah, they do.
Like really, really bad things. And no doubt this has been some of the hardest years for especially like small businesses, American businesses and stuff like that. You're in an industry where you saw the effects of that
right
across the board. I'm not denying that at all. I'm just saying it's not an excuse just to give up on the year, especially in January. On January, what's today? 10th?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I'm seeing people like, yeah, I'm out. And I'm like,
It just
what?
started.
It just started. So it's like living it on purpose. So I thought about where the line is between the woo-woo side of vision boards and the purposeful side of vision boards. And I'll ask you where you think the line is, or if there is a line, you're like, it's all woo-woo, like everything.
Yeah, probably so.
Okay, cool. Thought so. You're bringing a lot of value to this conversation. Thank you.
It's what I do.
So I think it's not drawn somewhere between the making it is kind of the woo-woo kind of like, that's great. That's where the wishful thinking, but it crosses from wishful thinking to intentional and on purpose when you consistently take actions in your life on a daily basis. Like you live it on purpose. So, and when you have a bad day, you use it as something as a reminder to be like, this is what I'm working towards. So to me, I think that's where the line is. It's, you know, the woo-woo is the board itself. I'll stand by that. That's the hill I'm going to die on. But like, it's the daily actions that take it from this is wishful thinking to I'm setting it as a reminder. I'm setting it as a to-do list to take daily actions to get me to whatever's on that vision board, whatever it is that I'm setting out to achieve. It's in the habits that you develop because they serve you, and the habits that you drop because they don't, like eating when you're really hungry on the way to the airport, or because you're tired. Not eating when you're hungry. You should eat when you're hungry. Please eat, but eating when you're really tired because you're on the way to the airport. It lies in the evaluating failures to see what you learned, which I think takes me back to the like 2020 and 2021. It's like there's so much to be learned from everything. And I think we can attest to every news report. We all have different opinions on even how a pandemic should have been handled, or what, how elections should have been handled. And we are definitely not getting into any of that on this podcast. But even in our personal lives, I think as a small business owner, a lot of the things that I've gone over with businesses is you've done a lot to get here as a small business, but if you don't do anything else, you're always going to stay a small business. Like Walmart started as a small business. What did they do to become a bigger? Jeffrey Bezos took his wife's idea to sell college textbooks, and he took it to now, you know, we got Bo Burnham writing songs about him that everybody knows, and we're all like, come on, Jeffrey, you can do it, you know? They all started as something small, and they kind of thought bigger and took things. They did things to grow, daily habits to grow, all that stuff. And some of those daily habits may have just been stepping on other people to get there. But I think we can all take the 2020 and 2021 and evaluate it and figure out like, okay, cool, bad things are going to happen. How do I make sure that I don't fall because of it?
Or if you're really good, learn how to profit from those bad things.
Factual, says the guy that flies corporate private jets, you know, all the people that profit.
Learn how to profit from bad stuff.
That's how you can be really good in business at it, but maybe not so great of a human.
Yeah, well, you get to choose one.
Not saying that making money is bad, to be clear. You don't have to choose one. You can both be successful and a good human. You just may not be as successful as the ones that step on others. It depends on how you define success, though.
That's very true.
So I feel like I'm a very successful person. I landed you.
That's also very true.
The red bean to my rice. But yeah, so the purpose lies in the launch. The purpose lies in the doing. It serves you in the doing. So just really living a life on purpose and in true holistic health is scary. And I guess that's really where I saw that is like where that line is, and even the things that we stop doing, like that do it anyways, even if you're scared. It's like, how many things do we not do because we're scared of doing it? And I think for me, a long time, I was, if I'm being 100% honest, I was really scared at some point, and I can pinpoint that time of when I was like, I don't know that I want to get healthy, because then I'm admitting to all the people that have told me I'm unhealthy.
That's a very Whitney thought process.
Right. Thank you for highlighting my crazy, confirming it. But the idea is living in that true holistic health is really scary. And I think about this too, when people are so focused on losing weight for their health, when it may not be actually their weight that is holding them back. There are other places that they can fill in, and to let go of that idea of weight loss. I know for me was like, how do I let go of that? Even though I know I need to kind of like repair these other parts of my life, when I know that how I was taught to measure health is truly in weight loss. And it's really scary to let go of that. And so I guess the whole moral and the meandering tale of this is to do it anyways, even if you're scared. So that's what I got today. That's my story. It's a random story. I'm really glad that my husband joined me. Do you have anything to add to this?
I don't think so.
So do you want to tell the people who I am recording with next?
So next up is Jada Bruce from Movement.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Jada is awesome. She has a lot to offer. She's sweet. She's funny. And she's kind of built some really amazing things around here. And so we have that. And then, like I said, if you are not following me on social media, at Thin Fat Line on Facebook and Instagram is the podcast page. If you want to follow me on the gram, it's at Whit Andress, and on TikTok at Whit Talk Andress. So that's what I got today. Y'all have a great day. Thank you, Ben, for bringing so much value to this conversation.
Thanks.
I really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
All right. Tell the people bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Thin Fat Line. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate that effort, and we'll catch you in the next episode.